5, 4, 3.
And we are back, folks, here on the Michigan Insider on the Big 1050 WTKA, online at the big1050.com, and a special simulcast for a live edition of the Michigan Basketball Insider that you hear from us, the Michigan Insider YouTube page and Facebook page. You hear how Tim McCormick and I do it on a weekly basis, breaking down Michigan basketball. Those of you who listen to us all the time know this is my big fella. This is my guy. Now, you know him more as the guy who did his thing in the 1980s as an All-American out of Clarkston, Michigan. In 1984, a first-round draft pick, played 10 years in the National Basketball Association. And after a decade in the NBA, went on to be an analyst, a color analyst, breaking down basketball as one of the best to do it. And now, doing it also here on the Michigan Basketball Insider. But I like to say he's my guy. He's my man, Timmy Mack. You know him as Tim McCormick. Tim, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Sam. How are you?
Doing great, man. Glad to be joined by you as always. And glad to be talking to you after a win. Glad to have a win in between what we saw, for that last game that you sort of previewed, which was that Purdue game, which, Tim, we got to kind of start there and ask you, big fella, what happened in that one?
I feel like I had some PTSD after that one because I can remember it seemed like every year the bus ride to the airport after playing at Purdue, and then the flight home, and then the film sessions, and then the questioning if you're any good at all. Purdue is a test of manhood and maturity, and I don't think that the Michigan players that had never played there had any idea what was coming. I mean, the very first two sequences were Tre Donaldson getting ripped, and that started the crowd going, and then people were questioning themselves. I'm just telling you that Purdue is the hardest place in the Big Ten to play. Michigan was not ready. They did not play with physicality, and sometimes. And I've been watching the Pistons the last couple of games from the studio, and they talk about wanting to be really physical. So, they hit somebody in the chest and they get a technical foul and they call that physicality, but it's not really. It's being super strong with the ball. It's setting great screens. It's being the first one on the floor with a loose ball. It's a box out. It's just a mentality, and you it's hard to define what actual physicality and toughness is, but Purdue brought it, and it was just a clinic, and it was really impressive. Look, we know Michigan now. We're halfway through the Big Ten season, and I've been asking myself the whole time, is this team good enough to win the Big Ten? Things could align perfectly, but I think that they're a good team that has, some question marks, and they are going to be a fun team to watch this year. But I just can't say, they've got Big Ten champions in their future.
Yeah, and listen, I think that there's an adjustment they have to make. I'm not ready to give up on the possibility. I think they have to acclimate. I think that you have a team of guys who aren't used to what the traditional Big Ten is bringing at them right now.
Mm-hmm.
When they were out west playing USC and UCLA, that's not the traditional Big Ten. Traditional Big Ten didn't bring that at them, and maybe we thought they were going to see it against Wisconsin. Wisconsin didn't really hit them like they're getting hit right now, Tim. And maybe the first sign of it that we saw was the Minnesota game. You remember we saw in the second half of that game how those guards were getting downhill on Michigan kind of at will, and it was kind of alarming. We were like, who are these guys?
Yeah. Layup after layup, and Michigan defensively started the year off better than we expected, but you kind of are who you are. And Michigan is a talented offensive team. They shoot really well. They move well. They've got some really good playmakers. Their defense still has to get a lot better because, Maryland is really good. Derek Queen and Julian Reese and those guards, man, they can play, and it's going to be a tough team to beat. Illinois, super talented. There are teams throughout the Big Ten schedule that if you play them and they play well, they're going to beat you. And one of those teams is Rutgers, and they're next up.
Yeah, man. And so to your point that you made, which I thought was very eloquent and spot on, where you say people, when you say physicality, think it's a hard, like bad boys, hard foul. A team comes in or a guy drives down a lane and you hit him with an elbow. And that isn't necessarily the case to me. It's when a guy like, Lukai Patterson is driving to the rim, who I didn't know who the hell Lukai Patterson was before the Minnesota game. But, can he turn a corner on you and muscle you to the rim? Because that's not a quick guy. Lukai Patterson's not quick. He was overpowering guys to the lane, down the lane and to the rim, and finishing through contact. Is he able to do that routinely? Or against Purdue, could Trey Kaufman-Wren, the way you see how he was just putting the shoulder in dude's chest and just playing right through him?
Yeah.
Can you do
Braden
that?
Smith was physical. Braden Smith was really physical. And you know who else was physical? Against Penn State, Tre Donaldson was physical. Like you can be a 180-pound point guard or whatever he is and be physical with your approach, your mindset, your toughness. And when that game was on the line, Tre was the toughest guy on the court, and Michigan needed him so bad.
Yeah, and so that's an encouraging sign. And that's why, I don't look past what they were able to do against Northwestern. And I don't look past how they were able to recover against Penn State with an ailing Vlad, Tim. I mean, you had to step up and you had to show some intestinal fortitude and you had to play with some physicality. Lest we forget, Penn State, they almost went into the Breslin and took down Michigan State. They played well enough to win that game. They shot the lights out that day. They just couldn't keep Michigan State off the glass. That's why Michigan State won that game, right? So this was a team that was fully capable of coming into Chrysler and taking down a Michigan team that was clearly feeling a certain type of way about getting ran out of Mackey on Friday night and had Michigan on the ropes in the final 2 minutes of the game. So I think it's significant that Michigan was able to find something down the stretch led by Tre Donaldson against Penn State the other night.
Well, they're down by 5 with 1:50 to go. And I just put my hand on my forehead, said, oh my gosh, this is a horrible loss. You're at home and look, the schedule breaks in favor sometimes and it goes against you. As an example, Michigan State got to play Rutgers without Dylan Harper, and they got to play in Madison Square Garden instead of the RAC. That's a huge advantage. Same thing with Michigan. That last minute 50 will go a long way in defining the season, because if you lose that game, which it really looked like they were going to lose, you would have lost 3 of 4 games. But Tre made every huge play. He had 21 points, 7 assists, 0 turnovers. He played with force. And when we talked last week, Sam, I think we both agree that when you look at a team and identify what things are you capable of doing better than what you're doing now, getting point guard play with that mid-range game, being able to take it to the rim, be more of a setup man. I think that Tre Donaldson, along with Roddy Gale, I think he's capable of more too. That was a great growth opportunity for Tre. And I think that he may have found something, like walking away from that game saying, wow, that was pretty good. When I do this or when I do that, I can get wherever I want on the court and help our team. So I'm hopeful that was the really good Tre that we're going to see as an all Big Ten caliber player moving forward.
Yeah, man, he's had these moments in games for them where he's just taken over. There's that moment in the UCLA game where UCLA had come all the way back from an 18-point deficit in the first half, and they take the lead in the second half, and then Tre goes on this tear where he just leads them on this run where he either scored or assisted on like 12 straight points and put Michigan back in control. Well, down the stretch of this game where you're like they were down by Tre basically goes on a set. He does go on a 7-0 run himself, but it's like every stat. It started with Danny Wolf's block. First of all, let me shout Danny Wolf out because I want to focus back on Danny again. I know we talk about Danny a lot, but I think your commentary on Danny is really pointed and really good. So I want to come back to him, but it all starts with Danny's block, which is crucial. But Tre has a big time assist. He has 2 huge buckets, Tim. He hits 2 free throws, which were huge. Then they shoot a 3 that they miss, and Tre gets the rebound, which in this game, Tim, was really significant because I was going nuts with all the rebounds Penn State was getting in this game. Like, why can't Michigan get a rebound? How's Penn State getting all these rebounds when they couldn't rebound a lick versus Michigan State? And they're getting these offensive rebounds against Michigan because Michigan would get a stop and couldn't get the rebound. So, but Tre then gets the rebound. So literally, like every stat but a block feels like he got down the stretch to help Michigan close out this game.
Yeah, every guard in the Big Ten should know that when a shot goes up, if they just run to the foul line, they're going to get 5 or 6 rebounds per game because missed shots, and there's a lot of missed threes in the Big Ten because the defense at the 3-point line is so good. Long shots miss long, and Michigan's guards, they would be wise to really help out and get to the free throw line area for those long rebounds because, Vlad is not a great rebounder. He doesn't rebound out of his space real well. I think Danny Wolf's a big-time rebounder. And on that block shot, a lot of times when I'm watching basketball, I'll see a play and I'll say, could I have made that play? I could not have made that block. Like that was something that at the end of the season, when you put together the highlight reel for Michigan basketball, that play right there has got to be on because if they make that layup, it's ball game. If Tre misses one of those shots, ball game. If he misses his free throws, ball game. That was so impressive. Hey, let me ask you this. So who is Danny Wolf?
I don't know. And it really gets to the root of when you look at the offensive funk that he's in. I think part of it is trying to find it because, this has been a season of discovery for him offensively. He's doing things. You made this point earlier in the year. He's doing things that they didn't have him do at Yale. And so, they're kind of giving him a lot of rope. He was having some success. There were some turnovers that came with it. But what I was advocating for earlier in the year is keep letting him have that rope because he's having some success. Well, now, Tim, as we got into Big Ten play, it's like, okay, well, now we got to figure out, do you have to kind of focus him different? And something that you kind of pointed out a couple of shows ago, you said maybe let him shoot more threes, or maybe not let him, maybe encourage him to shoot more threes, as opposed to maybe trying to drive into so much traffic. Teams are going to be giving him shots. Well, in this game, there was a two-man game with Vlad. They fell off a Danny, or they tried to go under a screen, and he got an open 3. He screened for Tre, I think, on another play. He screened for Tre, and both players went with Tre. He got another open three, and he knocked both of those down. I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, Tim, man, maybe there's something to, encouraging a little more of that. But I'm trying to figure out ways to how are they going to find that rhythm in his offensive game that's kind of eluded him here of late. Is it trying to look for more options on the perimeter? What do you think it is?
Yeah, I really like his perimeter game. I like his perimeter game more than his free throws. Last 3 games, Sam, 5 for 25 from the field. He has done a better job with his turnovers, but to average 6 points a game over the last 3, I was just wondering, why is that? First of all, I look at the Big Ten coaches. I think they're the best staple of coaches in all of college basketball. Scouting reports get really, really deep. If you've got a weakness, that's all you're going to see. If you've got a strength, they take you away from it. Also, it's so physically demanding to be at the top of the scouting report where everybody is game planning against you. I also think it's emotionally draining when all of a sudden everybody is saying that you're a first-round draft pick, you're all Big Ten, you're an All-American, NBA scouts love you. It's so easy to take a step back and take a deep breath and say, yeah, all that hard work's paid off. I'm going to get paid. I like it's just human nature that you're going to relax a little bit. And then also, this is a hard time of the year, Sam. I call these the dog days of basketball season because the newness of conference season is long gone. It's road trip after road trip. You get physically beat up and tired, and there's another hard practice. And so I think that he's still just an outstanding player. And I think that the last week is going to get him re-energized and refocused on what he was doing at the start of the new year.
We had some questions from some of the folks in the from the crowd. Like one of the guys, Lama Bryan, said, Tim, is the pressure too big for Wolf and go? Vlad was sick. Vlad's been balling. I don't know if you want to throw Vlad in there, but for Danny, do you think the pressure is too big, or do you think it's more like what you said about, hey, everyone had to have him they have him at the top of the scout now, and everyone is playing him with, we're going to stop that guy.
Last year, Danny Wolf, and he told me this, he was playing against 6'7" non-athletic centers that were chemistry majors. Like basketball was their second job. And he would not roam the perimeter. This is all new to him. I think that roaming around the perimeter, running the offense, setting screens, being a playmaker is taxing. Also, he has seen drop coverage, hard hedge, soft hedge, switching, going under. He's never had to deal with any of that. This is all new. And then also, I think he has a big responsibility he's like the big brother. He's the mentor to Vlad Golden, saying, I'm going to show you a whole new way to play basketball. We're going to roll you to the basket. We're going to give you post-up opportunities. You're going to have to run the court hard. And so I think it's a lot of pressure on both Vlad and Danny. And let me ask you this, Sam. Who's a better player? Who would you rather have as your center? Hunter Dickinson or Vlad Golden?
If I had to choose, right? I mean, that's a tough one, Tim.
Answer the question,
you put
Sam.
me on the spot, man. You put me on the spot. Wow. If I had to choose right now, I have to choose Hunter. I mean, I think Hunter's more experienced. Hunter's a more proven scorer. Hunter can hit threes too. I mean, I think Hunter has proven that he can do more over time to me. Yeah. He's proven himself to be a more effective scorer against bigger competition.
Yeah, I went back and forth. I answered the question to myself 5 or 6 times, and they were all different answers. I agree with you. I think that Hunter's an All-American and that Vlad is an All Big Ten star. But I do think that Vlad has some characteristics to his game that are a better fit for this Michigan team because Hunter did plug up the lane a lot. He never really left the blocks. But I agree with you.
Yeah. You put me on the spot because Vlad is the dude for Michigan right now. So I'm not saying
you're loyal.
Yeah, come on, man. You can't make me pick against the dude that's on the squad right now. But here's the thing. I wonder, and this is something that I've heard Daniel Horton talk about on his show with Chris Hunter. They talk about how in their breakdown, Danny at the 5 spot, that maybe he gets some more looks, maybe he might get some more opportunities like he did in that, when he was the screener, and then he gets that 3-point look when they fall off of him and they go with Tre. I mean, might we see him get some more offensive opportunities when he's the 5 man? Might that help wake him up a little bit?
No doubt. All of these are in play, Sam. And I think the Dusty Mays challenge is to integrate new concepts, but open the door for Namari Burnett to get more opportunities. I think that he's been a little bit quiet, and Roddy Gale is capable of so much more. I want to see him, downhill driving and getting to the rim. One of the things that I noticed against Minnesota and Penn State and Northwestern, there were times that guys were trying so hard to help the team that they were getting away from run the offense to get somebody else a shot. Like Namari is saying, okay, we need a bucket. I'm a bucket getter. Let me get this going. And it's always a kind of a precarious balance. You want to run your offense. You want to be your team first guy. And you want to be able to say, I'm going to do whatever I can to help the team. And for most of these guys, they're coming from different backgrounds, and this is their time to shine, but you have to make sure that you're staying within your offense.
Mm-hmm. Now, here's another thing real quick before we get into Rutgers that I did like. Tre clearly took this game over, and I said this after the UCLA game. I'm going to say it again after this game. I hope not only the team, but I hope Tre, when you have a game like that, I hope it does something for him and for them where it's like, hey, he can do that. Like, he can do that. There are times where, with college basketball, especially being a guards game, that you got to have a guy that can take command of the team and take over, whether settling the team down or making a play when they need a play to be made or things to be settled down. He's the guy to do it. And so I hope that this game kind of helps further establish that for him and for them. But what I liked in a game where Vlad really wasn't available to do that because of illness, you had different contributions. Reuben Jones stepped up and gave him a couple of threes. Justin Pippen gave him a 3 off the bench, right? Sam had a dunk. Was that his first dunk of the season? Tim, I mean, I know he gave him 3, but the dunk stuck out more to me because I don't remember him having a dunk this year.
I'm sure he's had a dunk, but not many of them. He's a below the rim guy.
Yeah, man. Like, you got a bunch of different contributions.
Yeah. This is a busy time for me broadcasting games. I have one Saturday, I have one Sunday, and I do a lot of talking to coaches. And one of the philosophies that a lot of them do, they break the game down into 4-minute segments where the TV timeouts come, and you want to try to win each of those 4-minute segments. And with Tre Donaldson, what I would like to see from him is once every 4-minute from one TV timeout to the next, I'd like to see him force the action on a shot one time per. Like, he'll get his normal shots because he's a good player. He's a big part of the offense. But one time, just step out of character and just take the ball and get yourself a layup. I think he could do that. And if he does over the course of the game, that's 5 times per half. That's 10 times per game. All of a sudden, you're looking at a 15 to 18 point score rather than kind of a support guy that's in the background, running the offense, trying to keep the turnovers low. I think he is so much more capable. And that mid-range shot, he can get there whenever he wants. I know that's not Dusty May's thing from an analytical approach, but I think that would help the team so much to see a more aggressive Tre Donaldson.
So one more thing before we give people this dose of Rutgers. So we talked about physicality and that being kind of one of the things that has been a factor here in these most recent losses. Do you believe that that is an aspect of a team that can improve, or do you believe a team is either physical or it's not?
Good. Okay, I stumped you. Now you want to stump me? Come on, Sam. So one of the most underrated physicality traits in a basketball team is the ability to play really good defense when your jump shot's not falling. When you're on the road and the crowd is booing you, when you're at a moment where, you could go left or you could go right and you want to go straight. The ability to not care what happened to your last shot, to have that short memory, the next play approach. That's toughness to me more than anything else. That's toughness more than taking a charge or knocking somebody down. Like the mental part of the game is so huge. And I see so many teams this time of year that they get down on themselves because they're missing shots. Guys are tired. They're fatigued. They're playing against scouting reports. Do you know what it's like when your guard's bringing the ball down the court and he's signaling a play and the other coaches are yelling out to their players exactly where you're going and what you're doing? That's daunting. And so to me, that's a big part of physicality, is the mental part.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's, you see coaches do things like put shoulder pads on their guys and, hit them with the pads in practice. I think you know who I'm talking about. They do those things sort of just to give like a physical mentality to their teams. Is that a thing that you believe in that can improve physicality? Or is that a temperament that you recruit to? That's why I ask. Is that something that you can instill, or is that something that you just have to go out and get?
I always remember playing guys in the Big Ten that were not big and strong. They were Russell Cross and Greg Stokes and Michael Payne, and the Big Ten was just loaded with all these centers that would not hit you, but they were just so physically consistent. Box outs, go get the rebound. Confidence builds up that inner belief. It builds the physicality. It makes you feel like you can do anything out there. And we've seen Vlad and Danny be that way before. I think Will Chutter is a very physical player. I think that dude plays hard, and so I think there's something that's wrong about assuming a guy's got to be really physical by hitting people. I think there's about 10 different things in physicality that don't even relate to an elbow to the throat or standing over somebody with disdain in your eyes saying take that. Like I don't like all the talking. I like the guys just go out and make plays.
Yeah, I think it's about adjustment with this team. I think they just had to be exposed collectively to what the Big Ten is about. I'm not ready. I don't think it's panic time. I know it was a bad loss to Purdue.
You keep bringing up Purdue, Sam. I think that you're still sad about it.
I mean, well, it was jolting, man. I felt like that.
Yeah.
That game, it was over early.
8 to 10 times per year, you're not going to bring your great effort. Yeah. And especially against that Purdue. Purdue lost. They were up 16 to Ohio State, and they completely blew the lead. This was their must-win game. This was their back against the wall game, and they played that way. Take that tape and just throw it away. Sam, I want you to erase it from your mind. It's over with. There's nothing we can do about that one.
Yeah. So let's look. Hey, they flushed it. They got a W against Penn State, which is not necessarily an easy task. We have other teams have had trouble with them as well at home. Michigan State were able to squeak out a victory just like Michigan. Now the task is going to the east, going out east and taking on Rutgers, except different from Michigan State. Michigan has to go to the rack to do it, and they have to face Ace Bailey and Dylan Harper. And so the task going to be tougher for Michigan to do it. Tim, how do you see this game, Michigan versus the Scarlet Knights?
I think Rutgers wins. The talent level is so good. Last year, Rutgers struggled to score. Ace Bailey and Dylan Harper, and this is crazy to think, they could easily be the number 2 and 3 pick in the NBA draft. Out of everybody in the country, everybody internationally, they have exactly what the NBA wants. They're long, athletic playmakers. Now, everything changes if Dylan Harper doesn't play. And against Michigan State, he sprained his ankle before the game, wasn't supposed to play, probably shouldn't have, has been in a boot. But if he plays, I think Rutgers beats Michigan. If he doesn't play, I think Michigan's got a really good chance. And my concerns are that Rutgers is young, and against them, I would run that 4 and 5 pick and roll to death. I think they'll really struggle with it. Some of the teams that have done well against defending Wolf and Vlad are veteran teams that have a lot of experience. I think that would be tough for Rutgers. Michigan rebounding has to be better. The turnovers have to continue being pretty good. Chemistry can still grow. I'm just watching. If Dylan Harper plays, I don't feel really good about that game.
This feels different for Steve Pikiell, who normally has a gritty sort of defensive, muck it up type of team, and this doesn't seem like that kind of Rutgers squad, Tim.
They really have appealed to recruiting local Jersey kids. It's a source of pride. They're immensely talented, and when I watch Ace Bailey play, I can't give a good scout on the rest of their players because I get mesmerized just watching him. His fluidity. He's a big kid that shoots a lot of perimeter shots. I think that if Danny Wolf wants to send a message that I'm an NBA player, that really going at Ace Bailey and outplaying him would be a strong message. I would imagine there's 40 NBA scouts at that game.
Do you see or have you heard, and we can sort of wind down here, have you heard NBA scouts start to have reservations, start to say, hey, maybe we need to slow our roll, we were premature, he needs some more seasoning, talking about Danny?
No, absolutely not. Everybody that I've talked to loves Danny Wolf. They love his potential. He's a big shooter that can move and play in the pick and roll game. And when you get down to 15 to 20, it becomes more focused in the draft on specific needs. And everybody needs a big shooter that can run and play in transition. He's going to have no red flags whatsoever. He's a smart guy. He's a good team guy. He has fun out there. Yeah. NBA scouts have not changed their opinion on him.
Yeah, everybody wants to know, and a couple of different people wanted me to throw this at you. Lama Bryant said, hey, I've watched the Rutgers last 3 games. Who's guarding Ace Bailey? Can we keep him below 35 points? $5 Tommy said, can Cheddar lock up Ace? People want to know, Tim, how would you guard Ace Bailey in this game?
Well, you need help for sure. I think that Ace Bailey, and remember, he had 37 points in his last game against Northwestern. So this is a special player. All Big Ten, best talent in the conference in terms of NBA scouts. I think he's going to need a special touch where if he drives, that you've got help coming. I would love to see him settle for his jump shot, which is really good. But Danny Wolf's smart. He's going to find him early and just get a hand up. That's all you have to do. And he's going to get his points, but you don't want him going off and then having 3 or 4 other guys have better than normal games because you're so focused on Ace Bailey.
All right. Folks, that is going to do it for this live edition of Michigan Basketball Insider. Hope you really enjoy it. We do it every single week. You can always check out the episodes of the Michigan Insider YouTube page, Facebook page, and over on the MichiganInsider.com. Tim, appreciate you as always, my friend.
All right. Go Blue, Sam.
And go Blue as always. Hey, by the way, Cade Cunningham, an all-star. Well deserved. We got to get to a break. We'll see you